Hello, football fans. Today we are going to go over the NFL draft and we're going to just give our overall thoughts on the Giants and Jets selections in all 7 rounds. Joining me today is Tom and Billy, both Jets fans. How's it going, Tom?
Good.
And how's it going, Billy?
Hey Dave, how you doing?
How's it going? So today I am going to just give a general overview of how I feel about the draft. And going into the draft, if you've followed any of my videos or my columns, I was really heavy on the Giants drafting Isaiah Simmons. I had my hopes up. I really thought there was a good chance they were going to take him. At the same time, I was a little bit scared that the Giants might pick somebody like Derek Brown. So during the 4th selection, the Giants, they took the clock all the way down. It was possible. Maybe they were trying to trade back. And they ended up taking Andrew Thomas. So I wasn't overly excited, but I wasn't overly upset because I was more relieved that they didn't take Derek Brown. But, the more I look into that pick, the more I like it. He's like the best overall offensive lineman in the draft. He's a good run blocker, but he's also a very good pass blocker. He started as a right tackle as a freshman on an elite SEC team. He only allowed like 17 pressures that year. He allowed 37 pressures his entire career in 3 years at Georgia, compared to Nate Soldier, who allowed, I think, 57 last year, the most out of any lineman. So it's been a weakness for such a long time, and it's really let like Eli Manning down, not having, even like a decent offensive line. So I'm not upset with the pick at all. And speaking of left tackles, the Jets also went in that direction with their pick. So what do you guys think about the first pick for the Jets?
Well, before
Thomas?
we get into the Jets, I just wanted to ask you: Did you feel anxious about the Giants' pick, about what the GM would do overall? Do you think? Can you hear me, Dave?
Yeah. I had no idea what Gettleman was going to do. And people were trying to read into what he said before the draft. Like, are they going to take Derek Brown because he said this? Or are they going to take Simmons because they said they want the guy with the most upside? Or are they going to take Wirfs because they've been talking about Wirfs all the time? So I really had no idea who they were going to take. But the last couple of days before the draft, there were a little bit of a clue that they did like Andrew Thomas. There was like a rumor that Miami wanted to trade up to number 3 and take Thomas with their first pick. And they didn't end up doing that. So I feel like that kind of stuff was more of a smokescreen. I was nervous during the draft, and I was kind of upset that they didn't take Simmons during the first rounds as I was watching it. But, with their second round pick, we'll talk about a little bit later. I think they kind of made up for, not taking the best defensive playmaker in the draft. So
now
you took Becton. Oh, what were we going to say, Billy?
I was going to say, now that you've had a week to sit on this pick, how do your thoughts of it differ from when the pick was just announced?
Yeah, definitely. The more I look into the Andrew Thomas pick, the more I like it. PFF is not the end-all, be-all for rating players, but they ranked him as the best offensive lineman in the entire draft. He's been good all 3 years. His athleticism doesn't like blow you away when you watch him on tape. But when you do watch him on tape, like, he is athletic enough. He has the longest arms in the draft, which I like. Actually, the only offensive lineman that has longer arms than Andrew Thomas was Matthew Pert, who was their 3rd-round pick. So that's the kind of type that Dave Gettleman likes. And, the more I look into it, the more I really like it. So it's a very solid pick, in my opinion.
So it sounded like Gettleman wanted to go offensive lineman at number 4. What would your reaction have been if it was any of the other 3 guys who were the top linemen on the board?
Yeah, that's a good question. Before the draft, I think a lot of people had the same opinion as me that Jedrick Wills was actually the best offensive lineman in the draft. The most like fundamentally sound. He only allowed, I think, 1 pressure in the last 2 years, but he is a right tackle. And the more I think about it, the issues with Daniel Jones is more that he is not able to see the pressure coming. He gets a little bit of tunnel vision. He holds the ball too long, and then the fumbles that everyone gives him a hard time for, which I think is a little bit overstated because a lot of those fumbles were caused by guys like Nate Soldier allowing their guy to beat them in 1 or 2 seconds. So I don't think the fumble thing was 100% his fault. But that being said, I think left tackle is, it's a more valuable for a righty quarterback like Daniel Jones. So I am happy the more I look into the pick. I would have been happy with Wills too, but I don't know if I would have been happy with Becton at number 4. Although, speaking of Becton, he does have the highest upside out of all the guys, if you really think about it, with his size and athleticism. So, Tom, what do you think about the upside of Becton versus the kind of risk that you're taking with such a, intriguing prospect like him?
Well, I did want Wills to slip to 11, and I was kind of mad when the Browns picked him because I thought that would have been a good fit. Just put him at right tackle. I mean, the Browns are talking about even moving him to left tackle. So I don't know. I haven't totally talked myself into Becton yet. When you watch his highlights, they're pretty much just him manhandling people, which is good, but I want to see him being able to protect Darnold in a pass set. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you a funny story. I was watching the draft with our dad, and so they showed. Did you see when they showed Becton and they showed his family? And
I don't remember that. I don't remember that part.
So Becton was sitting down on the couch, and Becton's dad was standing up, and Becton's dad looks like he's 500 pounds. So my dad points at the screen, and he's like, "We picked this guy. Look how fat he is."
Oh, it's so funny. That is something my dad would say too. I could just see my dad saying that. That's so funny.
But
I didn't realize his dad was also like that big, but it makes sense.
What were you gonna say, Bill?
He did look in pretty good shape. I mean, from the camera that was in his house, a guy that big, it's probably easy to hold that baby fat. But he looked in decent shape, and as long as he can keep it up. I know his mom is like a caterer or something.
I gotta watch out for that Southern cooking, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's the thing with him. It's like he's so big in weight, like 360 pounds or whatever he is, but he doesn't look like an out of shape guy at all. And it's just the way he moves. And the thing with him, it's like, even if he's never the best at moving his feet laterally and in pass protection, it's going to take so long for defensive ends to run around him just because of his giant size. I feel like he's going to make up for any lack in athleticism. He
seems like a good guy and excited to be a Jet. And at this point, before training camp even starts, that's all we can hope for as Jet fans, just for him to be excited and motivated.
I mean, if we're getting a player kind of like Trent Brown on the Raiders, I hope we get a decent starter. I mean, I'm not going to set my expectations high that he's going to be Jonathan Ogden or anything, but I hope that he's a good starter.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking they might go wide receiver because they had their choice of any wide receiver at that time in the draft.
Yeah, we could talk about that a little.
And it did upset me a little bit when CeeDee Lamb went to the Cowboys.
Yes.
Just like imagining the Giants trying to guard him and Cooper at the same time with Elliott in the backfield. So were you a little bit disappointed at all that they didn't go receiver, or you thought that was kind of the smart move to take a tackle?
No, I did want a receiver. I kind of wanted Lamb. I thought Judy was very good also, just because the Jets they really need more playmakers. But I don't know. I think the offensive line has to come first at some point, especially in a draft that had so many receivers. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah, I mean, you made up for it with the second pick too.
The way I see it with the Jets taking a receiver is they have Sam Darnold as the quarterback. The receiver is number 3 on the list, with the offensive line being number 1, because you can't get the ball to the receiver if you don't have protection for him. You can't get the ball to the receiver if you don't have the quarterback, which they already have. So the receiver would be a luxury pick, and when you're trying to build something, I think they went with the right choice, even though it's boom or bust.
Mhm.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, if you look at the Giants the last like 5 or 6 years, even at the end of Eli's tenure, they had all these fancy weapons like, Beckham and Sterling Shepard and Ingram, even Barkley, but they've struggled on the offensive line, so they never really met their full potential. And Darnold, if he ever is going to meet his full potential, he's going to have to, get time in the pocket. He's pretty athletic, a little bit underrated athletically, but he's going to need, a good offensive line to excel. So in the second round, the Giants ended up redeeming themselves, I think, for not taking Isaiah Simmons or a playmaker. Xavier McKinney, who's someone I did not expect to be there at number 36. I think we had him in our mock draft, like in the teens maybe, or in the early 20s. And I thought that was a great pick. The more I look into that pick, the more I love it. He was that kind of Isaiah Simmons light for Alabama, where he played 200 snaps at the linebacker position, 200 snaps at box safety, and then 200 snaps at slot. So he also played in the deep half. I don't think he actually played 200 snaps at the linebacker position, but you get my idea. He kind of played all over the place. And yeah, he's the kind of player that we need in Patrick Graham's system, where he's going to move guys all around. And I thought they redeemed themselves. And what do you guys think of
Yeah,
the Jets second? Or you
I,
can comment on McKinney.
I loved the Landon Collins pick of the Giants a few years back. When you get a quality player like that at the top of the second round, safety isn't that highly regarded in terms of scouting, so you can get the best guy at that position at that stage in the draft. And I think the Giants did the exact same thing in here. And you saw how Landon Collins panned out for them. I mean, not sticking with the team, but he was a Pro Bowl caliber safety on that defense for a few years. And I think you'll see the same exact thing from McKinney for the Giants.
Yeah, and I mean, now Collins is the highest paid safety too, so he's had a great career. And I do think
For now.
McKinney is a little bit of a different type of player, but I like that comparison and like quality of talent, and also being like an Alabama safety that dropped, because yeah, I think at that value, that was a great pick. And supposedly Gettleman was going to trade back if McKinney wasn't there. So there were a lot of good players still available in that time. There's so many receivers and so many cornerbacks were going in the first round, sort of late. So
I was
yeah,
gonna say, if you told Giants fans that going into the season you would come out with two players, first and second round, no matter where you picked, and you were going to end up with a tackle and a safety from two of the top schools, national championship caliber schools, I think you would have taken that any day of the week. I think, looking back on it, even if they're average players, I think the first two rounds the Giants did a good job.
yeah, and it's like Joe Judge said after the draft, it's we're not just collecting talent or independent contractors. We're trying to build a team. So like the way they drafted made a lot of sense to me, especially those first two picks, because like our defense was so bad last year, and we needed the best defensive player left. I liked Antoine Winfield a lot. That's somebody I was kind of rooting for them to take, but the more I look into McKinney, I think McKinney is more versatile. He could do more things, and then Winfield is smaller and he's injury prone. So I like the McKinney pick a lot. I was really happy with that. And another player in one of my articles on gmenhq.com, I wrote for the second round Giants targets Denzel Mims, because he's like the guy that kind of tore up the combine at the receiver position, and he has all the upside. So a lot of people thought the Jets hit a home run with that pick. What do you guys think of the Denzel Mims?
I like the maneuvering that Joe Douglas did above anything else. They were sitting there at 48, I think, and they traded back, and they still got their guy. I really don't take into account too much the combine stats. Those never really tend to work out, especially for the Jets. But being able to pick up another third round pick and still get your guy was what I liked the most out of what they did on day two.
As we know, I did want the Jets to go Claypool, so I did. I was upset when they traded back. They might have been able to get him there, but I don't know. There were talks about Denzel Mims even first round. There was buzz about him,
Yeah.
but receiver, you never really know. You like to see a 4.40, and you do love to say that he's got decent size. He's 6'3", but remains to be seen. I don't know. I hope rookie receivers do make an impact in the NFL. We've seen that over and over again. It's just as to which one is going to do that. And
They're just so thin at receiver now. They had to do something. Rashad Perryman is their wide receiver one at this point, and you needed to bring in a guy for Darnold to throw to.
Yeah, one thing I liked about Mims a lot, just watching him for my column, I was doing a little research, and he's able to just win those jump ball situations because he has the size and he's like very good at contested catches. He's somebody you can kind of feel comfortable throwing it up to if you need to do that. And he didn't run a complex route tree at Baylor in the Big 12. He was kind of just running a lot of goes and simple routes. But supposedly at the Senior Bowl, he was running like every type of route and getting open consistently. So, I mean, that bodes really well for him. He's very much like a high upside pick. I also think Claypool would have been a good fit, and that is a very typical Steelers pick for them to kind of grab him at that point in the draft.
you know he's going to be good if he's a wide receiver on the Steelers.
Yeah, so I think that was like another good pick.
I don't think the Jets are going to ask too much of Mims. I think he's going to step into the new role. He won't need to burn guys like Robbie Anderson would. They have like Crowder to do all the under routes and the short little passes like that. I think Crowder is a real pro, and him and Darnold have a lot of chemistry, but he'll be doing like the 15-yard digs and outs and everything. And I hope he learns well in training camp and takes it to the regular season.
Yeah, he has a lot of upside, so I thought that was a solid pick, and he got a lot of credit for that. He got A's across the board for that pick in the draft in general. So, all right. Speaking of grades in the Giants, a lot of people, they really like what Gettleman has done with this draft, but I think he does deserve to be knocked a little bit for the third round situation because the Jets got a very good player with many good players available at that time in the draft with the Giants pick that we traded to you for Leonard Williams. So what do you guys think of Ashtyn Davis, the safety out of California, who some people say is like the best free safety in the draft? So what do you guys think about that pick?
As soon as the Jets drafted him, I sent the picture to Tom of Elaine's boyfriend from Seinfeld, where you can't tell if he's white or black, but you saw the highlights of him running track and everything. He's not even a football player by trade. He kind of just picked it up at Cal, is what they were saying. But the tape kind of speaks for itself. I think it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Greg Williams is drooling at having a guy like that in your back end, just because you can put him anywhere, and it looks like he's going to be able to keep up with NFL caliber athleticism. So,
I don't really know their plan with him. Whether it be, I don't think it has to do with all the Jamal Adams drama. I think that's
that's a little overblown.
It could be Marcus May going into the last year of his contract and asking the Davis kid to step in and play free safety full time. But this kid could be a special teams hero and also be in the secondary and dime packages. So we'll see what he can bring to the table.
He's gonna be on the field, and it looks like he can return punts too. So, like you said, he's gonna get some playing time for sure.
Yeah, and when I was researching him, he was another second-round target I wrote about in my article. He's a track guy, so if he was able to perform at the combine, he probably would have tore it up with ridiculous 40 times and numbers at the combine. So maybe lucky for you guys, he wasn't able to do that, and he fell to the third round maybe as a result. So high upside pick. Maybe won't contribute that much to the defense his first year, but I think he can like find ways on the field, and he could be a good pick. Hello, Giants fans, and thank you for watching our draft analysis. Please check out the second part of our video where we go over the rest of the draft and also talk about the overall grades that we give our teams. Also, please check out my Twitter at Giants Alliance. Check out my Instagram at Giants Alliance 56. I post all the memes on there, and I really appreciate you guys watching. Please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, hit the bell icon, and do all that stuff. Thank you, and I will see you next time.